can use the patterns within a data table to develop an equation from those values. We can use the equations to help us calculate results for when circumstances or values might change. For instance, I could use this table to figure out how much money I make if I work 30 hours one week and then 42 hours the next week. That might take me a bit of time, but I could make my life easier by creating an equation where I simply plug in my numbers. Let me show you how this works. The first thing that I'm going to want to do is to take this view that you see right here and turn it into a process table. I've already filled in some of the numbers that we already calculated in our previous video. So this column right here, these numbers right here, were the change in x that we calculated, or delta x. You'll notice that I've already put those in this column right here. On this table, we calculated the change in y, or delta y. It was outside the table. Now it's just simply inside the table, and we recorded those there. We also simplified the delta y over the delta x as simply being 8. Now let's take those numbers and plug them in to create an equation. The first thing that I'm going to do is to take this number that we already calculated in the previous video as being 8, and I want to be able to multiply that by the x value. And the x value that I'm going to use is the one to the left, and I'm going to enter it in. If I multiply 8 times 1, I do in fact get that y value that I'm looking for. Let's repeat that for the second row. I'm going to plug in my 8 that I've already calculated. I'm going to insert my x value. When I calculate 8 times 2, I will in fact get 16. And as I go through, I can see that this pattern continues. And 8 times 3 is 24. Each time I'm entering in my x value from the left column to multiply it to see if it equals my y value. 8 times 4 is 32. If I take the 8 and multiply it by 5, there's my x value that I've inserted. And now 8 times 5 does in fact equal 40. If instead of a number, we replaced it with a variable, so we have 8, and the variable that we want to insert, we're going to bring over just like we did the number, is the x. We know at this point that it will generate that y. So the equation that we've created here is 8x equals y. In summary, the pattern that we've identified was that we had to each time multiply the value of x times 8. That means that the relationship in this table is multiplicative. But that is not always the case. In our next video, we're going to see what happens with a different type of relationship and the pattern that it generates.